You're listening to Dairy Voice by Dairy Business News, a podcast exclusively for the dairy industry.
One of our sponsors of the Dairy Voice podcast is National DHIA. NDHIA ensures information accuracy and represents their members' interests. They are the direct voice for the dairy information industry. To find out more, go to dhia.org. When your goal is to help animals reach their full potential, health matters. Diamond V offers a fresh perspective on animal health, a perspective that supports gut health, strengthens immunity, and ultimately enhances performance. For those who choose to invest in keeping healthy animals healthy, feeding Diamond V makes a statement about another dimension of profit, where margins are measured by confidence in your future. To get a fresh perspective, visit diamondv.com, because animal health deserves a healthier approach.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in your day. Thanks for choosing Dairy Voice podcast by Dairy Business News. I'm Connie Kuber with Sealpro Silage Barrier Film by AgriScience. Be sure to like and share this podcast, and you can subscribe to it wherever you listen to podcasts. So today I have a really interesting pair of women who are going to enlighten us on their company and their structure, and they're in the dairy industry as well as other ag industry. And that's Cheryl Mohn, who is president, and Dana Casto, who is the business manager of Udder Tech Incorporated. It's a company based in Rosemount, Minnesota. Udder Tech has kept ag protected, clean, and dry for 30 years. So welcome, Cheryl and Dana, to the Dairy Voice podcast.
Well, thank you, Connie, for having us on. We're excited to be here today. And as you mentioned, we're kicking off celebrating 30 years in business this year. So 2024 is an exciting time for us and for our business.
You've made it past the magic 7.
Our business is like marriages. You just got to get through the first 7 and then it's all good.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I would really like you to tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you came to this place in your work life with Udder Tech. Cheryl, you want to start?
Yes, I'd be happy to. It is hard to believe it's been 30 years, but back 30 years ago, if you turn back the clock, farms were milking with udder wash, and the whole prep was totally different than it is today. And that is actually what kind of launched our first product, and that was our towel tote. We had about 50 cows, and I was doing most of the milking, my husband doing most of the other chores, and we had 3 small children, and I needed to get to the house. Once I had a tea dip cup in my hand and a towel, instead of having to go to the bucket to the udder wash, I thought, gee whiz, if I could just have this with me, I could really cut off some time. So that is how our first product began, was basically necessity for myself, trying to be more efficient. And it did prove to be more efficient. The first night on our 50 cows, I saved about 20 to 25 minutes because I wasn't running back and forth to a bucket or a station and then back to the cows in our tie stall barn. That is the beginning. World Dairy Expo is where we launched our product. And that was 30 years ago.
Wow. So did you sew that yourself?
Yes. I actually had made about 3 of them out of denim. And of course, you know, the first one was not the final product. That's for sure. We changed it a little bit. So yes, I had one myself. I gave some to a couple of the other neighbors that were milking and thought, well, it's worth a try. I thought it was pretty slick, and I figured other dairy farmers would like it as well.
So Dana, tell me about yourself and how you got to this point in your career.
Yeah, as many of you may or may not know, so I'm Cheryl's daughter. So that's kind of how I got into the family business. A little bit kind of rewind for me as well. So I was lucky enough to grow up in a dairy farm. Our farm was in Lakeville, so just a half hour south of the Twin Cities. So I always said we had the best of both worlds. We're a half hour from the cities, but got to live the great life of growing up on a dairy farm. So growing up, I did 4-H and FFA. I got to show cattle and do dairy judging and do kind of all the fun farm kid things. along with that, I also got to travel to trade shows. I think third grade was the first year I got to go to World Dairy Expo and be a helper in the booth. And then obviously I was more helpful as I got into high school and college. I would get to travel along and go to trade shows. So I've kind of gotten to grow up with Udder Tech through there. When I graduated high school, I decided I would like to go get a degree. I did DairyScience and Ag and Applied Economics. I crossed the border and went over to UW-Madison for college. Had a really great experience and got to get more dairy knowledge and business knowledge through the business school there. Kind of, I guess, always knew I wanted to come back to the family business at some point, but was excited to get out on my own. So I went to college at Madison, was involved in the dairy club and got to do lots of different opportunities there. Worked in the industry for about 4 years before I came back to Udder Tech. So it was kind of at the point Udder Tech was growing and looking to hire somebody. And it was, are you ready to come back to the family business? Kind of had those conversations of where are we going? What's the next plan? So January of 2015 is when I started full time. And I always say I came back to Udder Tech. I guess it's technically my first full employment with them. Like I said, growing up, I got to work alongside the business. So I'm starting my 10th year and I'm the business manager here. So work with a little bit of everything.
Great. Well, thank you for that. It's always interesting to hear about how entrepreneurs start out their businesses and kind of it's not 9 times out of 10, it seems to be a very by chance thing that this all happens.
Have you run out of silage? Had to buy expensive, marked up feed to fill the gap? Maybe production's dropped due to lower dry matter intakes. Are molds or mycotoxins creeping through your piles or bunkers? And pitching the rot is a dangerous pain. Oxygen is the enemy. Pack it out, then keep it out with Sealpro, the professional grade silage barrier film protection chosen by top professional farmers like you. Make more, better, safer silage with Sealpro. Learn more at sealprosilage.com.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about what Udder Tech does? Because remember, we do have some listeners who are not even in the dairy world. They just like to listen to different things. And so tell us, what does Udder Tech do?
So we provide waterproof workwear, which is kind of a general term. As we mentioned, we really started in the heart of dairy. So we started with a towel tote that held paper towels and teat dip cups. We then moved into doing aprons and sleeves for milking. So kind of what you would need to stay clean, dry, and efficient. So the apron to help keep you clean also helps keep you efficient, having your towels right there. We do waterproof aprons and waterproof sleeves. Those are mainly in the milking and the parlor setting. But then we have a wide variety of bags and pouches. We also do calf blankets. And then our waterproof bibbed overalls are a great option for many other industries as well. So we have waterproof bibbed overalls, pants, jackets. Those items are great for the dairy industry, but they also cross over into other industries as well.
And then I know looking at your website, I had seen that you have a group of people that are working for you, some family, I assumed, and some community members. Tell us about your company structure.
I feel very fortunate that we have family that's interested. I think you grow a business and you get to the age of retirement and you either, kind of decide you're going to stay with it and hopefully family's interested, or you end up getting out. So luckily Dana's interested and her husband, Chris, is our warehouse manager. And my son-in-law, Cody, is our production and warehouse manager in our other warehouse. Those are the family members that are with us. My husband, Bruce, is vice president. And as he says, I'm vice president of listening. So he's not busy on the day-to-day, everyday business, but is definitely a business partner and decisions are made together. That is our family structure. We do have 4 employees, and the 4 employees we knew all of them personally. We didn't hire anybody that we didn't know. And we really felt that trust and integrity was a really important piece when we were hiring people.
Right.
Our office manager, Tina, has been with us 21 years. I always say that she helped us grow the business, and she is just as vested, I think, as our family members, as well as our other employees. So we've been very fortunate to have good people at the helm presenting our company the way we want it presented.
Ron and I started Counter AgriScience about at the same time, maybe just a few years after you did, and we've gone through some big hurdles. So tell us about some of the big hurdles that you've had to jump over and how you did that and what made you strong through that.
So I think with any business, obviously there's, like you mentioned, hurdles that you come up to. I think IT and technology is one that is a hurdle that covers all businesses. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're selling, making sure that you're staying current with technology, making sure you know that your technology is working together, being ahead of the curve or keeping up with it is a big thing. And I think with that hurdle, as well as any other hurdle we have, I think what we found is to find really good people to work with. I think looking and seeking out help, not thinking that you have to figure out everything on your own, but being open and willing to seek out help and find people who are experts at what they do to help you overcome those hurdles. So that would be, as you look at more things going online and social media and all of those things too. I mean, that kind of falls in that IT category. Mom, maybe you want to share some of the early business hurdles, but that's kind of one of those ongoing hurdles is technology.
Yeah. The IT thing never goes away.
Right. Right.
Sad to say. I think the first thing that came to mind when we were discussing hurdles is coming up with an accounting program that was appropriate for our business. And when we started, we used QuickBooks, continue to use QuickBooks, but we did not have an inventory piece to it. Also, we were putting kind of garbage in, garbage out. When we would get reports, we had to tweak them. We just really didn't have the accounting knowledge, my office manager, Tina, and myself, to figure it out on our own. And same thing, we ended up with a consultant. Finally, I mean, after hours and hours of discussion and understanding what our needs were, we were able to get the file cleaned up, to get inventory into the program. And we said, hallelujah, it's a huge hurdle. We mastered it. But it was a long process to get it just the way we wanted it.
So you are using QuickBooks. You're using the inventory component of QuickBooks as well.
Yes. And of course, we've gone from the very basic to the very detailed. There's many, many versions of QuickBooks, and it works well for us. So that is probably my big red flag when you think of hurdles, and what a feeling of accomplishment once we got it where we wanted it to be.
And I think that you told me in the past that you have a new warehouse building. Is that correct?
We moved our warehouse to Rosemount. For many years, we operated right off of the farm in Lakeville. So the farm, we were on a building there. In 2019 is when we purchased the building in Rosemount here. So we have a large warehouse, as well as all of our office and staff is here. So there's usually 6 to 7 of us in the office every day, and this is where we ship everything out.
Right. That's taking a leap, going away from home and saying, okay, we are a real business now. We're going to have our own office and warehouse. That is a huge leap. Obviously, the two of you get to work together. What are the best things about owning your own business in your mind?
I love the saying that says, you know, I don't want to work 40 hours anymore for somebody else. Instead, I'm going to work 80 hours for myself. There is some truth to this, because if you're putting in the extra time, which you have to do as an independent business owner, the good news is you're doing it for yourself and for your family. You're not doing it for someone else. So a lot of truth to that statement. And I guess I feel very blessed that my husband too has been supportive through the early days. It wasn't always easy, and it wasn't always profitable. And the perseverance that it takes to just forge forward. I guess I feel very blessed in the fact that we have been able to grow the business every year.
Dana, do you have any thoughts about that at all?
I think there's a lot to be said, to kind of carrying on the family legacy. It's really fun and exciting to get to be a part of a business that it started with one item, and I was young at the time. We lived in a mobile home when Udder Tech first started, and the office was there, and we put buckles together, and like we mentioned, we had a 50 cow stanchion barn. We had a barn phone. So sometimes you would answer the phone in the barn and you'd be taking orders on the back of breeder cards. So I think just kind of having full circle of, like you mentioned, now we have a real office building and a real warehouse, and how it's grown over the last 30 years, and kind of the excitement and plan to continue and carry on the business. I think it's a fun dynamic to get to work with my mom, and we get to travel to trade shows and do those kinds of things. A lot of times, anytime we're traveling, we try and sneak in something fun while we're away. Right. I have 3 little kids, so right now we don't sneak too much extra time, but maybe a few extra hours in the evening to go do some sightseeing or something. So carrying on the family business as well as having the opportunity to work together.
Right. I've seen the two of you at trade shows. It looks like you're having a fun time together. That's
Absolutely.
really special. So let me ask you, I know that you started in the dairy market, but there's other markets that you are covering too. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think as we kind of mentioned with our products, so we started really in the heart of dairy where you're in the milking parlor. That's where most things are done. But there's a lot of people that come to the dairy. From there, we have a lot of AI breeders that use our things, dairy nutritionists, veterinarians also. And we have a lot of specialized items for veterinarians as well. They're in a job that most of the time they're getting very dirty and don't want to take that to the next farm as they're transferring farm to farm. We've really enjoyed getting to work with the veterinary industry as well. Beef producers, hog producers, really anybody who's getting dirty can find a use for our products. We've had some zoos order things from us, bags and pouches to carry things while they're working and training with animals. So like you said, our heart's in dairy, but it is fun to get to branch out into some of those different industries as well.
Like those veterinary products, I'm assuming that a veterinarian came to you and said, hey, here's something that I need. What can you do?
Absolutely. And if you want to think back to, we had one item as we went to trade shows, our customers told us exactly what they needed. They were putting these gaiters that were made to put on your legs. So when you're going in the pasture, your pants don't get wet. They were putting them on their arms. And they said, could you make those smaller so that they would be a sleeve instead of a thing for your legs? And I'm like, sure. So our customers have been telling us, every time we're at a show or on the phone, can you make this? Can you make that? We just listen. A lot of those things make sense. And I think having a background in agriculture, you understand what they're talking about, you understand the application, and it makes it that much easier to design the items.
Right. Well, and you mentioned that, the customers talking to you, and that's one thing I've noticed about your company. You're very responsive to what your customers want and need. And that's pretty important.
It validates our customers too, when you don't just blow them off. And a lot of times their suggestions are the best. You hear it from one or two or three or four, and you're like, I guess this is a problem. And that's what we try and do is take care of their needs.
Right.
So
right.
If you just listen, they will tell you.
Sure.
I think there's one unique situation, especially to kind of expand on that, how we designed or came out with the idea for a thumb hole sleeve from a dairyman from out west who had called my mom and said, Cheryl, you have to find something. My milker's going to leave because she's getting a rash on her arm from the manure and the teat dip. You've got to come up with something because she does a great job, but she can't keep doing it with the rash.
I was messing around with fabric and elastic and trying to figure out a way that the sleeve would stay in the glove. And my daughter, who's a nurse, stopped by. And I said, yeah, I'm messing with this. And she said, well, Mom, when we go into a quarantined area, we wear this Tyvek suit. And the arm on the Tyvek suit looks like this. And instead of it being a separate piece of elastic, it's actually the fabric from the sleeve goes right around your thumb and, just around the palm of your hand and back in. And so she explained what it looked like. I thought, oh, well, that's slick. Yeah, I can make it like that. That was what we fashioned it after. And it didn't take long. We made it into a sleeve that was elastic at the bicep. And then people wanted it in our jackets. Well, could you put it at? Sure, we could do that. Could you attach it to our aprons? Sure, we could do that. So the one item ended up to be in many different items eventually. The last one that we added was a duo where the two sleeves are attached behind the neck so that it doesn't slide down at your bicep because it goes up over your shoulder. Yeah, it all started with this California customer that just said, you've got to come up with something. So anyway, it worked.
I know that there are a lot of people who are looking to create a company or sell a product or offer a service on a farm, but maybe they're trying to diversify their income and that kind of thing, and they need advice as far as starting up a company. But I'd sure love to hear your advice for anybody who's thinking about starting some kind of a company, whether it's selling products or providing service?
Part of it comes from experience, but part of it comes from a consultant that we had met with early on. It's pretty basic, but basically you have to have a product that has value or a need. So if somebody doesn't want it, you're not going to sell it. So basically you have to establish what your product is or your service and make sure that it's something that you're able to sell that has value. Secondly, you need to make it well so that you don't have problems with it and that your customer gets to know that you are making a quality product and that holds true to your company. Third, a logo that identifies your company so that if instantly there's that recognition that this is Udder Tech, I see the Udder logo, and then I see quality is represented with that logo. So I think those are the three main things. Also, you have to have it priced right, that it gives the product value, that it's worth purchasing. And I think advertise. If you don't advertise and put it out there, nobody's going to know that you have a product. And it costs money to advertise. It really does. But if you don't advertise, no one's going to know what you have. So you need to invest money. And I guess the other tip that we had from our consultant was be the first one in the market with your product. Be the first there, give it good quality name, logo, and make it good and advertise so that people know what you have. So I guess those are kind of the basic things.
And I guess I would just add, as you're starting up, don't be afraid to ask questions. Always ask questions to whoever maybe will help you. And sometimes you might be asking the question to somebody you least expect would have a really good input for you. So don't be afraid to ask questions, even if it doesn't seem like maybe the direction to go. I think overall people want to help people. So I think just reaching out to your network, ask for input from other people, and go from there.
Why do you love what you do? Because you obviously love what you do. Why do you do that?
We kind of talk about too, we feel really fortunate. One of the reasons why we love what we do is because of the people we work with. So we're really fortunate. We have great customers and we have a great team here in the office as well. And anytime we hire somebody new and they're getting on that first week of answering the phone, everyone's always a little nervous about taking calls. And we always say, we have the best customers in the world. You don't have to worry. Let them know that you're new. They'll help you work through it. We're all here to help you. So I think just getting to work with both great customers and having a great team here in the office really is why I love what I do.
And I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit too. I think because we make a great product, you come to work every day and we get a lot of great feedback from our customers, whether we're at a trade show or somebody on the phone. And it's so fulfilling to come to work and feel that you have a really great product, a great company that's valued in the industry. So the pride that goes with that, I guess, is what creates kind of a love. And I get up every day and I'm ready to go to work. I don't know. We just had a vacation for 5 days and I was happy to come back to work. The feeling of being needed, as well as just the fun of watching things grow, is great.
Well, I had wanted to ask too, what is the favorite color of customers of all your things? Because I know you've got a lot of different colors that you offer and it's a rainbow of bib overalls. So what's the most popular color that gets ordered?
I think black is always going to be timeless. I think probably the most fun color, my personal favorite would be the purple. I feel like when we launched the purple, we would have people say, oh, you guys have like the best purple, the most beautiful color. And I'm not even a purple lover. So it was kind of one of those when we had requests and the team here was really excited about purple. And I kept going, you really think purple? Really? And then we got the bibs in and we launched them at Expo. And I would say that was has been the most fun, would be the purple. But I think black overall is.
Cheryl, what's your favorite color?
Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite color. Probably the green, because it represents the veterinarians and it's kind of neutral. And once again, we had vet students asking for it. And I'm like, no, we can't do another color. That's just too much inventory. Right. Well, once we made it, it was such a hit. And we're thinking, why didn't we do it sooner? But it is a nice green. It's kind of a forest green and it, the veterinarians like it. It's like I say, it's not light and it's not dark. And yet it has a little color to it. So I'd say the green.
we do have some exciting news that goes with our 30th anniversary, and that is that we're going to be launching a new color as well.
Are you ready to unveil it?
I think we can share so we will be launching red, will be our 30th
Ooh.
anniversary color. We're really excited to kind of get the reaction from everybody. But it's one that we've had a few requests at our different trade shows and kind of fits in line with our other color
Very
options we have
nice.
available.
Very good. Well, that's exciting. Thank you for sharing that on
Yeah,
Dairy
and I
Voice
would say,
podcast.
as a UW alum, I think, Badger Red is always kind of close to my heart too. So
Right.
red might be my favorite one to launch.
Well, I was going to say there's the Nebraska. Who else? Ohio State.
Ohio.
Yeah.
The Ohio State. Yeah.
The Ohio State. Correct. Yes. Oh, that'll be fun. Well, good. Congratulations. How about one more question? Can you tell me a funny story about a sale?
I guess there's been some unique pictures that have come back. Various customers have sent us in regard to their products being used. One that comes to mind was we had a priest order so that he would have milking sleeves to guard his garments when he was baptizing.
Oh gosh.
Yes. So that's probably one of our more unique ones.
Speaking of pictures, there is Barstool Sports. They have a group of that does storm chasing. So they go to these different basketball games, and we had no idea that they were purchasing our bibs, but they purchased our pink bibbed overalls to wear for their storm chasing event. So that just happened. I think so. Yes, we have the priest with baptism. Probably the most fun and exciting off the wall was seeing 4 guys, and they're all different shapes and sizes. And they are wearing our hot pink Udder Tech bibbed overalls.
Nice.
And I think maybe the best laugh we had in the office here, which maybe not everyone would know, is our pink bibbed overalls don't have a fly zipper in them. So traditionally, we had assumed not very many males buy the pink bibs. So we had a good laugh when we thought about wondering if they knew that there was no fly zipper when they bought those pink overalls for those 4. But
well, let's, maybe they found out. Who knows, right?
Yeah. I'm still designing. I'm still altering. I'm still at the machine. We have another gal here too that does some of it, but that is how the creations come, is from the knowledge of putting my sewing as well as my agriculture background together.
It's always fun to get to share a little bit about kind of the history and our family business. Thank you for having us.
Sure. Well, this is Dairy Voice podcast. We've been talking to Dana Casto and Cheryl Mohn. Cheryl's the president. Dana is the business manager for Udder Tech Incorporated. And we've talked about keeping people clean, dry, and efficient. That's kind of their motto, with all the different bags and pouches and bibs and arm sleeves and all that kind of thing. Udder Tech is a family business that is celebrating 30 years with a new color, red, which is exciting. Dana, could you give us your website for our listeners?
UdderTechInc.com. So UDDERTECHINC.com. You can find all of our items there. We do ship all across the US and internationally. You can order right there on the website and find all of our products.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you both for joining me today. I'm Connie Kuber with Sealpro Silage Barrier Film by Connor AgriScience, and you're listening to the Dairy Voice podcast by Dairy Business News. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast, and we'll see you down the road again soon.